now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show brings you famous celebrities and amazing people from all over the world. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. So sit back and relax and enjoy the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Also, watch the interview on YouTube as well. And coming soon, the Mike Wagner Show on TLBTV.com. That's the Liberty Beacon TV network. That's the Mike Wagner Show. Can take us wherever you go on your smartphone, Android, as well as your iPhone as well. And we are here, ladies and gentlemen, as we get into the baseball season. We have a very wonderful gentleman who's been in the baseball business for a long time. He's currently a scout and trainer at Power Showcase, Home Run Derby, and Pitching Showcase. And he's been a pitching and catching coach, worked with Coco Crisp, and he also worked with Darrell Evans, Tom Gamboa, Harry Gurley, also worked with the Kansas City Royals and Cincinnati Reds, and has worked a numerous amount of baseball jobs, but really keeps up with the game. And he's here to tell us about a great experience and also teach you how to be a better ball player if you want to. So, ladies and gentlemen, going from Beaver Dam and traveling all over the U.S. into playing baseball, now in beautiful sunny California, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Baseball, Mike Schulz. Mike, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and try and help some people in the process.
That is great. I'm glad what you're doing as well, too. So you've been a scout and trainer for Power Showcase, Home Run Derby, and the Pitching Showcase. You've also been a pitching and catching coach. You worked as an assistant for head coach Coco Crisp at Shadow Hills Knights Baseball. And, of course, you've also been a hitting coach and a scout for many things, U.S. Baseball, Ranch Mirage Prison, and, of course, you worked Legends of Baseball, Desert Hot Springs, Coachella. You also worked with the Kansas City Royals and also Cincinnati Reds, and, just a lot of ventures. Before we get into all that, tell us how you got started.
Well, I started playing, obviously like everybody, with your little league on up in high school. Went to the University of Wisconsin for 1 year, and then had the opportunity to play for the Milwaukee Brewers for several years, getting up to AA. And then after that, got out of baseball for a while, but found I missed it, and then a couple opportunities came up to get back in, and I took those opportunities, and they've grown, and had a great opportunity a number of years back to move to Southern California to work with a buddy of mine, Mark Cressy, who was a Dodger bullpen coach for 22 years, and things just continued to progress from there after I moved to Southern California.
That is amazing, too. And who are some of the teams that you play with during your minor league as well, too, for what affiliates, like, say, with the Dodgers, the Royals, or even the Yankees?
No, I played several years with the Brewers, moved up to AA just with them, and unfortunately, like what happens with many of the young men playing the game, sooner or later somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, we're going in a different direction and you're not going with us. But that's okay. You learn a lot, and I've always enjoyed now giving back to the kids and talking about experiences and things with them to where and how you can get better.
Mm-hmm. And who are some of the players that you play with in the Milwaukee Brewers that have went on to the majors as well, too?
Actually, I did not play with anybody made it to the next level. I had a short term. I got to meet Gorman Thomas when he was really young, but we never really played together.
Okay. Well, at least that's a good start as well, too. And, of course, you also had worked for Coco Crisp as well, too, and you also worked with Darrell Evans, Tom Gamboa, and Harry Gurley. You can just tell us a little bit about the players and what's it like working for them.
It's really enjoyable. I think when you don't know current or former major league players, you become in awe of that person because of who they are, what you know, and what they've done. And what I have found out is they're quite willing to teach, share, and give you the opportunity to learn from them. And you find out you can sit down and have a conversation with them just like you and I are having, that in many, many cases they don't hold themselves above a normal person, and they laugh, joke, tell stories, and some of them got some pretty good stories about things that have happened throughout their careers with coaches, managers, other guys they've played with. So it's enjoyable, and I really appreciate that I had the opportunity to do that, because it's allowed me to get out there and be able to share some of that information with young kids that I've worked with from high school, college age on down. I was in Europe and managed over there for 2 years, and Europe's a long way from America as far as their talent pool, but they're coming around like all our other countries are, and it was quite enjoyable being over there.
It does sound amazing too. And how do you compare the baseball talent in Europe and other countries compared to the United States?
Well, I would say that I was in Austria. Austria is had only been playing baseball at that point for about 20 years, so they were okay. Their imports were better than a lot of the local guys, but there's some local guys that had come over and played junior college ball or that type over here in the States, and they love the game. The difference is their professional level is really semi-pro because they all have jobs, and they have to earn a living because they don't make any money playing baseball over there at the time where I was at. Now, there are some countries that now the guys are able to make a living doing that, and probably Netherlands, and you've seen them in the World Baseball Classic. They've got some guys that are pretty good. They're probably the best overall program, and then Germany, Italy, kind of all fall right in behind there. And but there's love for it. It's not soccer. I mean, soccer is still the main sport in most a lot of those European countries. But they love baseball. The guys that are into baseball are really into it, and they're the guys that just don't want to play soccer. They want to play baseball. They want to learn.
That is amazing. I like that, how baseball is really catching on. And what are some of the countries that are asking you to take up baseball as well, too? And what are some of your next countries you're planning on hitting, trying to teach baseball or improve baseball?
I think I'm pretty much staying in the United States now. I was over there for several years. I have a friend who started International Baseball Network, and he played for me. His name's Dave Burns, and he's gone out and really recruited and made people aware of the opportunities over in Europe and the countries over there. But for myself at this point, I'm pretty happy just staying here, but I did enjoy my time over there immensely. And when you're in Europe, you really do appreciate the United States when you come back. Just the little things like at the McDonald's or whatever it may be, compared to we can go to any corner here and there you may have one in the whole city.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It's a celebration when they get one.
It sounds like it, too. And also, you mentioned about the European countries as well, too. And how much work have you done with the Asian countries, like in China, Japan, and Hong Kong, where baseball has gotten to be king as well, too?
Yeah, I haven't personally done anything. I know that has those countries really are doing a great job. I know Jim Lefevre was over in China for a number of years, a friend of mine who was with the Dodgers and has managed Milwaukee, Seattle, I think maybe one or two other places. But he really said China's really getting into it. They're looking to start academies and everything and anything they can to get involved with baseball. But it's a ground up operation. I know Major League Baseball is involved with a lot of academies now. When I first started doing this, they didn't have anything in Europe, and they just had gotten ready to open the one in Germany. And they're continuing to open academies everywhere, make the game worldwide as they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And are they encouraging people to move on to, say, Major League Baseball coming to America, or are they trying to build something like Major League Baseball and keep them in, like in the countries like in Germany and also the Netherlands and Italy?
Yeah, no, they're trying to develop guys that can come play at our level over here. I mean, Cuba's an example of that has brought a lot of young guys over here that can have stepped right in and be able to play quite well. I had a young man played for me over in Europe that played on the Cuban national team at one time, and he gave me all the names before they came of the recent guys, Puig and Machado, or not Machado, but a couple of the other guys at Montcado. Anyway, yeah, he gave me all these guys that were coming over, and he was telling me who's better than this one and that one, and so he still has that pipeline back there, and he knows that. I mean, that's Cuba's national sport, baseball. They just do a great job with it over there.
Mm-hmm. And of course, thanks to what's happened with the U.S. and Cuba just opening up trade and seeing a lot of Cuban players come on over the United States without any worries. And another question that popped up as well too, like with the names you mentioned about the Cuban players coming over. And what are some of the names that you think are going to make the majors in Europe and other countries? What are some of the names we're going to be looking for in the future coming from Europe over to America?
At the present time, I don't really know of any. I've not been involved in working in that area. I've been mostly doing United States work. But I know that every team now has scouts, both in the Asian theater, South America, anywhere they're playing baseball. Major League Baseball is looking for guys that can play. I think Australia is the example of that has a league that not quite a major league, it may be a double AAA league, but there's guys constantly going there and coming back from there playing and getting picked up. So even though that's a different continent, I realize that's probably the closest thing to our Major League Baseball at this time. But believe me, there's these guys, they'll go out and find anybody anywhere as long as they can pitch, hit, play, whatever it may be. I mean, the island countries are example, Dominican and Puerto Rico and all that, where, again, it's their sport, and with the Cuba guys trying to get them into our Major League Baseball.
That is amazing, too. And we'll get to your academy in just a second here. We'll talk about that. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can also check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can also download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, watch the interview on YouTube as well. And coming soon, The Mike Wagner Show will be on the Liberty Beacon TV network. That's TLBTV.com. Look for The Mike Wagner Show to come to a device near you. We're here with Mike Schulz, who's a scout and trainer, started a Power Showcase, Home Run Derby, and Pitching Showcase. He's also been a pitching and catching coach at Shadow Hills Knights Baseball, working for head coach Coco Crisp, who normally play for the Cleveland Indians. He also worked with Darrell Evans, Tom Gamboa, and Harry Gurley, and talked a lot of experience just going worldwide. And, first of all, before getting to how you can develop baseball players and get a little bit of history as well, too. And you've been a Power Showcase, Home Run Derby, and Pitching Showcase. So just tell us all about that and how you managed to get started.
Ironically, Brian Domenico, who is the founder and CEO president of that, gave me a call one day. We were connected on a couple different sites and talked to me about trying to get involved with him out here in California. He was looking for guys out here that could help him evaluate and train and then direct young men to get involved with this showcase. He's trying to take this, like you were talking, he's trying to take this worldwide. He's got a showcase coming up in the East. I think it's Japan coming up here shortly, But it's just a continuation of the pitching thing, isn't it? Just continuation of what he's been doing with the home run showcase. And the other thing is he just added this pitching showcase because most people are only looking for guys that can throw in the 90s, and he's trying to give other kids an opportunity to be seen that can pitch but can't always top out at 95 and 100 miles an hour like most of the major league teams are looking for. They're looking for guys that can actually spin the ball and do things to get players out without having to throw it just past them.
Mm-hmm. And then you talked about having kids come in and working on skills. Now, do they come to you and apply for the academy, or do you recruit people to come? And how does one person get involved with what you're doing with the Power Showcase?
Well, there's a lot of people involved with it. Like I said, I got involved because Brian called me out in this area, obviously because of the amount of players in the Southwest here. I mean, Southern California is a hotbed of baseball players, and he didn't have anybody in this immediate area where I live or surrounding it that could come to him and say, I got a guy here or there that are interested, and show them, what they can and can't do and where they can go. As far as the training aspect of what I do, I have my own cage and pitching area, fielding area at my home, and I have both things that happen. People come to me, I advertise, excuse me, and that's how that all takes place. I've had the opportunity through some of the guys that I've coached with to be able to work with and train guys over the years. Tyler Saladino was a young man who played for me with the Power, who I knew then he had the opportunity to play because the kid can play anywhere, and he definitely showed he had the opportunity. Aaron Brooks, who's now back with Oakland, played for us, and he definitely at that point had a lot of people looking at him, and he's had kind of a struggle where at first when he went with Kansas City, first thing they told him is, Aaron, you throw too many strikes. You got to learn to throw around the strike zone a little bit more. And did well with them, went to Oakland, and with Oakland started several games, then got traded from there to the Cubs where he got injured in the last half of the season, got traded to Milwaukee, which he never did fully recover. Well, he fully recovered and got re-signed and is now starting again for Oakland. So quite a up and down, but success story for that young man who's just from San Bernardino, close here.
That is amazing, too, and how can one persevere and everything else as well, too. So, and do you also offer, like, any classes, like, through videos or, say, one-on-one, or you come out to a location or anything?
I have done all of those things. I do a lot of one-on-one. I've done a lot of team training. I have people ask me to come out for 1-2 hours at a time to help work with their youth programs, travel team programs, that type of stuff. And I've had good success. I think the biggest thing with young kids, and especially nowadays, you have to be honest with them about where we're at and how we're going to get to where we want to go. Because there's only 750 guys in the major leagues, and it's a pretty steep pyramid, but you want to give those young guys every opportunity to find out how they can get better and improve, and just be honest with them. And that's what I found has been my success. I know that's not what everybody seems to do nowadays, but it's worked for me, and the kids appreciate it, and the parents, when it comes right down to it, that you're not just trying to sell them a bill of goods because they're giving you a couple bucks to kind of work with their child.
Right, that makes sense, too. And, of course, having a realistic measures that everybody wants to be like, say, the next Alex Rodriguez or, say, the next, Melky Cabrera and everybody like that. But, of course, it's a reality check and what they can do and can't do. So that's just one of the things that's also good, too. So we'll get to more about baseball as well, too. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking a budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can also download and listen on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, watch the interview on YouTube as well. You can also catch the Mike Wagner Show coming soon to TLBTV.com. That's the Liberty Beacon TV network. You can catch the Mike Wagner Show coming to your device real soon. We're here with Mike Schulz. One time worked as associate scout with the Cincinnati Reds and Kansas City Royals. He also is a scout and trainer at Power Showcase, Hormone Derby, and Pitching Showcase, and also worked for Coco Crisp, who once upon a time played for Cleveland Indians, Shadow Hills Night Baseball, hitting coach at U.S. Baseball, and many others. So, just talking about Coco Crisp as well, too. So what's it like working for him, especially when he played for the Indians?
Coco is very knowledgeable of the game, and he's only been coaching high school kids for a couple years, so he's learning about the ups and downs of dealing with guys that are doing it because they love baseball, but at the same time, I'm not understanding sometimes they got to get grades in order to keep playing. You got to remind these guys that they're called student athletes for a reason, and that student comes first. But Coco this year gave me the opportunity to be his pitching coach, and he pretty much just turned things over to me and let me work with the young men, with the pitchers and the catchers, and checked in and see how we were doing in games and stuff. And every now and then we discuss, how certain guys are doing. He evaluated them on his point. But he's great to work with. I know he had some major injuries in his career, but watching him out there, he could probably go back and play right now if he really wanted to. He still had teams last year trying to talk him into it. He can run.
I'm
sure
he's
a great guy to work with.
And I'm sure the Cleveland Indians are probably calling him by now, because when they get to the pennant drive, they'll probably call him up and say, "Hey, can you come back?" And of course, speaking of baseball, we know it's early, and just to get an idea of so far, like with who's going to be who's going to be say in the pennant race for the second half, who's going to make it in the long run, or who's going to start trading players. So maybe just a quick assessment on some of the teams as well too. We know it's early in the season. Maybe just some projections on who's going to make it to the playoffs or the World Series, or who's going to be having a fire sale on a lot of players if they start being below 500, like say the Miami Marlins, or say like the San Francisco Giants.
Well, I would say the Marlins are pretty much where they plan on being from what I read and hear, because they're in that growth period. They got rid of their better players and brought as many young guys as they can in and give them that opportunity to grow from within. Jeter's got a plan, and he seemed to know what he was doing. When he was with the Yankees, learned a lot there. So I have all the faith in him. Mattingly's there. They've got some guys that know the game. I think right now the biggest one that you mentioned is like the Giants, undecided where they're going to go, whether Baumgartner stays, goes. That's been a rumor out there for a while, but you don't know. Like I said, it's early. I think the Dodgers have been playing well. I would be remiss if I didn't say my Brewers I thought were doing quite well, as well as Cincinnati. It's coming along and learning.
And it sounds like it too that Milwaukee seems to have that element as well too with Christian Yelich. It's like he's smashing records left and right. They're making like Gorman Thomas, Robin Yount, Paul Molitor all seem very insignificant. So I guess the thing with the Milwaukee Brewers is like we think they necessarily need to finally get them over the top, especially losing by a game or two to the LA Dodgers in the for the National League pennant last year.
Yeah, I think it's like anybody pitching and more pitching. I think they're trying to do it with the bullpen guys they have and the starters that they do have. But I think that, although I was proven wrong last year when they made it to the championship in the National League, that they had to pick up some pitcher there. They picked Gio back up, but I that would be my thought. I don't know. Not in the rain room. I don't know. I think it would be a lift. I just don't know where if they got the money to spend to get the right guys.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the two Tampa Bay, who had been stuck in the middle between the Yankees and Boston, they're off to a good start as 19-10 as well too. So, what do you think the secret of success is so far?
I think it's just consistency with the guys that they've got and that they've traded for and picked up in free agency. They're again on a low budget. They're hoping supposed to get a new stadium. I've been down and by their old stadium, and it's tough to get to. It's pretty traffic bound. It's not near an interstate or anything, but I just think they just keep persevering and keep teaching kids and young men how to play the game properly and let them have the chance to succeed. Because in a lot of organizations, you're not going to get that if Jeter's the shortstop, and you're a shortstop in the lower level. You're going to have to figure out, can I play second or can I play third? And then at that point, am I going to get traded? And that's the way of the game nowadays. There's so much money involved that you got the higher level guys getting major dollars, and the rest just trying to figure out how they can get on a team and contribute and hold on.
And, of course, speaking of money as well, too, that Alex Rodriguez broke the $100 million barrier, quite some time ago. Now you got Manny Machado that signed for $300 million with the San Diego Padres. Then later you got Bryce Harper signing $330 million with the Philadelphia Phillies. And then Mike Trout of the Angels literally smashed it with $435 million. So just give us your thoughts on that. And do you think that's going to hurt, say, getting better pitchers, better players to support these really high-paying guys at over $300 million? Next thing you know, it could be $500 million, $750 million, or close to $1 billion player.
Yeah, Mike, that's an extremely good question that I think a lot of people are grappling with. Can you pay Trout $400 million and Harper and Machado, and then what do you pay the guy who has to catch for them, field for them, drive them in? Those guys can only do so much. I know they're franchise-type players, but you still got to put people around them. And I think Trout's probably the example more than anything, as much as the Angels have had some good squads. They've had to been weak with their pitching, and they had put through a lot of money at players that didn't work out. And Pujols was still playing for them, but it's a tough thing to figure out how do I get a quality guy if I bring him up from my system, and then after 6 years, how do I keep him?
Mm-hmm.
That's the hard part.
And it's amazing. Albert Pujols signed over $100 million, smashing Alex Rodriguez back then. And it's amazing he's still playing at a really consistent level, not the really high level like he did with the Cardinals, but still consistent. And it's amazing how can the Angels are paying guys that are over $100 million, especially with two of them. It's like, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's difficult, In Anaheim, L.A. Angels, whatever they want to be called now. I guess it's L.A. Angels.
Don't worry about it. I'm lost on it too.
They're a small market team. They consider themselves a small market team, although I don't really think they are. That the amount of people down in that Orange County area, but they have to be able to put a product on the field that is going to want to bring people to see them play, and not just Trout. And that's always a challenge. And the biggest thing is finding guys through the draft, that are going to be able to help you in the future, as well as some key acquisitions with young guys that maybe didn't quite make it with the team they're at and looking for another opportunity. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's tough. This splash with Trout is probably better received than most of the other ones they made, except maybe for the Pujols trade or signing, because he's considered such a area kid now. He's been out here so long, even though his roots are back in New Jersey in that area. He's the kind of guy that you want your players to play like. He plays hard. He plays as many games as he can, 162. And the next thing, he just goes out and does his job and shows what he can do, but how he does it, not telling everybody how good he is.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing as well too, and it's something you just teach future players, and you know whatever else too, and of course you know just being from Beaver Dam as well too, and traveling, of course watching the Milwaukee Brewers and everything like that, and of course you've got some interesting stories on the way over, maybe involving the Brewers or just having association with any of the players, and just love hearing what you got to say as well, too. So, just some of the great stories out there as well. Just amazement.
Well, I've had, the opportunities I got by moving out here. I got to thank Mark Cressy, who was the bullpen coach for the Dodgers for 22 years. I came out to work his baseball camp, Mark Cressy School of Baseball, and developed a relationship with him. And through that start, I was able to meet a lot of, players and get into opportunities to teach and coach. And if it wasn't for Mark, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So I appreciate everything he did and has done for me. Mm-hmm. He's got the stories. I don't know how many of these of his that I can put on the air.
It's okay. We got some time.
Well, I think some of the biggest ones that he has the stories on Lasorda about the fact that Tommy doesn't like spend money. And Tommy finds a way, most places he goes and what he does to find somebody else to take care of the bill. If he ain't copped, he'll find some way for somebody else to pay it. So it's quite interesting when I see him on TV and know some of the stories that Mark's told me about Tommy. But yeah, it bleeds Dodger blue, but he doesn't like to pay any Dodger green out.
and I'm sure he's still eating pasta somewhere. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. Another thing that's interesting, Mike, is getting to have met Darrell Evans and do some coaching with him. I put a question out there the other day on Facebook that nobody seemed to be able to answer. Of all the photos I put out there, guys I'd worked with, about who was the guy that was on base when Aaron hit 755. Well, it was Darrell that was on base when Aaron hit 755, and he has something on. He always puts on his own personal website when he had it about Aaron telling him best way to hit. And Aaron told him, here's the way to be successful. And I asked him, and he, come on, you got to tell me what it was. And finally one day he says, Mike, it's not that complicated. All Aaron told me was, get a good pitch to hit. So with everything Hank Aaron knew and did, all he told Darrell, just get a good pitch to hit. So that's quite interesting.
I think that is pretty good too. I remember Darrell Evans, also went on to play with the San Francisco Giants, if I'm not mistaken, as well too. And he was also part of the teams that did consistent. So now I remember the day Hank Aaron did hit that 755th home run in Atlanta off of Al Downing, and I remember watching it in Wisconsin in Brewer Country. It was on black and white TV, and I watched this like, oh my gosh, it's like you're just seeing history right there too. And of course, he was also well respected in Milwaukee as well too, and just played baseball 6 months out of the year. And if I'm correct, he also worked as an insurance salesman in Milwaukee, well respected.
Yes, the 6 degrees of separation, always all this stuff, is the guy who warmed up Al Downing to gave up 755 was my buddy Mark Cressy, who was the bullpen catcher at that time. So, it's a funny circle how that all comes back around. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the old, I was in, obviously in Wisconsin in the days of the Braves, and Eddie Matthews, another all-star, was a car dealer, a car salesman in his off season. And that's a guy that Darrell really respects as far as a guy who needs somebody he played for. He said Eddie Matthews was a greatest manager ever played for, and he played for a few good ones and got his World Series ring when he was with the Tigers in '84.
Nice.
But, it's always interesting hearing these guys. You would think it's Sparky or it's this guy or that guy, and it turns out to be one of the guys least known for being a manager and more being one of the better third basemen in the major leagues in his day.
It's also amazing too that you hear of these guys that play very little Major League ball and becoming one of the the greatest minds in baseball today, and it's just amazing on how they pick it all up, and I'm sure you've got a lot of them as well too. So, talk about another time, but yeah, go ahead. You were saying.
Well, one of the things I've noticed, like working with kids and doing pitcher training and helping them, is they go, "Well, Mike, what do you know about pitching? You were a catcher." I said, "Well, let's start with Sosa, Matheny, and we can go on down the list of all the managers that became that were catchers who became good managers." And what I say is, I caught so many bullpens, I had to learn about pitching because I sat there and caught 7 bullpens while the guy threw 1 bullpen, went out and ran a little bit, and I'm still there catching, and he's going to shower. So you pick with the pitching coach, the pitchers you're working with, they give you the opportunity, if you want, to listen, learn, and become a better catcher, let you understand them, and a better coach in the long run because of having to know the whole ins and outs of the game, because you're the only one that's not in fair territory that's got to kind of run the game from there. And just reading an article the other day about how they said catching probably is the most difficult position when it comes not just to receiving and the blocking and all the physical things. It's the mental aspect of running the game. The guys get more tired mentally at the end of the game than they do physically sometimes because of remembering scouting reports and hitters and last pitch and all those things that are important at that particular time.
It sounds something too. They're almost like the quarterback of the team as well too. But it's like they're just a plain old catcher, just like everything else. And what percentage would you say that the catchers have went on to become major league managers?
Well, it's pretty significant when you look at even guys that were either starting catchers, reserve catchers. I would venture to say it's at one point maybe 50%. Just because of the knowledge of the game and what it takes to run the game and be able to associate with the pitchers getting into your game. So I think that's why, there's all kinds of names. I can't think of them all right now, but I can just remember a lot of guys that were catchers that went on because that was their opportunity. The other thing that happens with, not as much anymore, but still to some degree, you've got guys that really weren't superstars and maybe were the 24th man on a roster becoming managers because they spent all their time listening, learning, and trying to see what their next opportunity would be and moved on to becoming good managers and coaches in the major leagues.
I think the one thing, one of the backup catchers that comes to mind is Tim McCarver, and he would only catch for Steve Carlton, and yet he went on to become a manager himself and up in the broadcasting booth. And I have to say, he's just one outstanding individual who I've respected a lot. Although I'm a Cub fan, it's like, he's just one of the most respected catchers, and it's just amazing how he went up.
He was always a great catcher. Well, he was Gibson's personal catcher too. But he caught almost everybody with the Cardinals when he was with them. But yeah, when he went to the Phillies, he had one guy he would catch, and he caught him every game. And that's it. Just it made the pitcher comfortable, and that's the thing. If the pitcher's comfortable, everybody's happy, and he's performing. Maddox had a catcher that he preferred using, and it happens. And they're trying to get away from that, and they find when they try to get away from it, it doesn't always work. It's better sometimes if he's a good pitcher to let him just have his guy, and they communicate well together and work well together and get the W.
And of course, you think about the pitching as well too. It used to be a long time ago that the pitcher would go 9 innings without a problem. Now you got this strategy, statistics, and everything else where it's like a pitcher goes like 5 innings, then you leave the rest of the relievers. You got the setup men, you got the closer. Now you just throw anybody in there. You pitch 1 or 2 or 3, and you just throw everybody in there. So, what are your thoughts on that new strategy?
Well, my thought is that I can see this all started with Tommy John injuries and limiting pitches, and it's a good thing, but I think it's a better thing when kids are young and that they limit pitches and take time off. That's one of the issues that people look at is the amount of throws pitcher, or even any kind of ball player makes, is the fatigue on the arm is what can cause the ligament to snap. And then the other theory is the arm only has so many throws in it, and if your ligament's going to go, it's going to go no matter what you do or what you don't do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Dr. Andrews has the right thing as far as, especially with young guys, where you got to limit how many pitches they do and how often they do it. High schools now have a very restricted pitch count as far as what a pitcher can throw without having to go on 1, 2, 3, 4 days rest. And we had very little, if any, problem with our pitchers this year. Only problem we had with pitchers was a guy that came in with a problem or had already had a problem before, but not anything that we did trying to have them be successful and help the team. So it's important. But the whole philosophy, I go back to the day when, the guys, if they didn't complete 9, they were mad. And the only guys in the bullpen was a guy who did blow out his arm, and he's trying to keep his career going for a couple of years and get 3 or 6 outs at the end of the game. And then the Gossages and the Fingers and those guys came around, and then it was just a fireman. And now it's leverage and all the statistics and all those things that people are looking at as far as when and if is the right time to bring a pitcher in, or how long should you leave them in. I have found, and it's not a science, I have found that I can watch somebody throw, and I can pretty much, after all these years, I can tell you he's out of gas. Mm-hmm. He may not think so, or somebody else might not think so, but you can just watch them, and just the way their pitch performs or how they're finishing, whatever they're doing in their pitching mechanics, you can just see he's out of gas. Mm-hmm. And I've just been fortunate that way, and most of the time people agree with me, but pitch count's important, especially at the lower levels. That's what the problem is, that there's too many young kids in travel ball get abused because they can throw and they can get guys out, but what's the future? And my goal has always been get everybody to their next level and get them there healthy and ready to able to keep playing, because who knows what that young man becomes 3-4 years down the road that he wasn't yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And so now the new name of the game is it more like preserving a person's arm in the future? Like, say, if they want to continue baseball, or if they want to move on past baseball, or is it like, back in the old days, you just want to just keep it strong? So what's the message you're sending out to today's kids?
Well, my message would be, as far as pitchers, is that you want to limit the amount of throws you make in any one given day or period of time, because pitching is not fielding. There's a lot more strain put on your arm, shoulder, when you're pitching, and especially if you're still learning the mechanics of the game and not using legs and body weight as a transfer to help you throw and take some of the pressure off your arm. But I think with young guys, it's better to follow whatever the requirements or the minimums are, maximums are, for whatever level you're playing at, and parents need to enforce that, with their coaches. I go through the era where I've seen a lot of guys, when there was no pitch count situation, throw many, many more pitches than they should have thrown it at that time, and somewhere along the line it comes back and hurts them, and any chance they had to move on to the next level, it's pretty much gone, because they just never recover from what they were or could have been. Now, were they going to be a major league pitcher? I don't know that, but I don't know that they wouldn't have been either. But I think it's important, and I think the other thing's important is that you have 3 months rest every year at the age level you're playing at, high school, college, whatever it is. You want to limit how often you throw. You can throw every day, just you don't want to be pitching 12 months of the year.
Right, yeah, and you don't want to blow out your arm as well, too. And, of course, just another question I'm going to throw out there as well, too. If you were the commissioner of baseball right now, what changes would you make, and what would you keep?
Well, I'm pretty old school here. I don't really like too many of the changes that they've talked about. I think the pitch clock will cause issues in many ways, both with runners on base, guys not being ready to pitch, and just take away from the game. I know that the game to a lot of people is slow, but it's the game that you have to understand and what the strategy is of the game and not just what's happening. I would like to see more balls put in play. I think there could be a better job with the strike zone a little bit as far as doing that. I know the independent league is going to move the mound back 2 feet and try that, and it just seems a little drastic. I'd rather see them lower the mound back down than move it back.
Mm-hmm. That sounds pretty good as well too. And of course, just being around baseball for a long time and everything else. So, who are some of the favorite players that you grew up watching, and some of the teams, and what do you think were some of the best games in your memory?
Well, I've always been a Hank Aaron fan. Obviously, growing up in Wisconsin, the Braves were our team. Hank Aaron and Matthews were two of my favorite players. And then I've always had an affinity for Mickey Mantle. Just the talent that young man had, and the injuries and different things that caused him to much faster than his age should have done for him. But those are two or three of my favorites. There's a lot of great ones out there that I've enjoyed over the years watching. I mean, Mike Schmidt was always enjoyed to watch. I enjoyed growing up watching a lot of Cubs games with Billy Williams and Ernie Banks when the Braves had moved to Atlanta. So I could be all over the place on that just because I just enjoy baseball so much. And I mean, it's like Trout now. Watching him is enjoyable, but it's hard to compare him to a Mantle or to Aaron, even though they will try, and they will, because it's a different time.
Right.
We went through the steroid era where everybody's hitting a lot of home runs, and was it the right thing? Was it the wrong thing? I'm not the judge, because everybody was looking at, if he's doing it, maybe I should do it, because it's a business, money. Mm-hmm. And that was a hard part, and baseball just turned a blind eye to it until they decided, okay, this has now got out of hand.
Right, exactly, too. And I remember the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa competition as well, too, where, McGwire hit 70 and Sosa hit 68. They found out it was steroids. So I guess the kind of question is like, do they allow it back then? Are they going to allow it now? Or it's like, are they going to wipe it off the record? Or does it still stand? Makes you kind of wonder about that.
Well, personally, my opinion is that since almost everybody in baseball knew what was going on, including the people who maybe are against the records or asterisking the records, just turned a blind eye to it. So it's whatever sport it is, and whatever is legal or not illegal should be allowed to stand at that time. Mm-hmm. And that's just my opinion on the thing. I hold nothing against any of those guys. I think they found out themselves it wasn't good for them, and a lot of people that have used steroids in all the different sports have they had some serious consequences from them. But at the time, that's how they were making a living. And when you're a pro athlete, sometimes whatever it is you got to do to keep your job and to keep playing is what you do, whatever that means to each individual.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing too. And it sounds like you really enjoy what you're doing. Of all the ventures you've been in, and currently you're with Power Showcase, Home Run Derby, and Pitching Showcase. What do you consider your most favorite project that you've worked with, and what do you consider the most challenging of all the things you've done?
Most challenging of all the things I've done is scouting, mm-hmm. because there are so many variables and so many different things you're looking at depending on the age of the individual. The guy I work with Cincinnati, when you talk about high school kids, you're looking for one thing they're really outstanding at, and can they develop that and then grow from there. And then as you get up to the next level, what are the multiple things that this young player could do? And it's really challenging, because you can really like someone. I think the same thing happens in coaching. You really can like someone, but you you just don't know if they can get to the next level if they've got the tools to do it. I mean, there's some guys like Vladdy Jr. that when you see him, you realize, okay, this guy from young could play and had a lot of good training from his dad who's in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
But that to me is the most challenging because there's no right and wrong. Do it this way, do it that way. It's all based on performance and speculation of what someone can do down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, that doesn't always work out.
I was just going to ask about the part as well, too. It's like, you had these people that say, oh, this guy's going to be great, this guy might not make it, and who are some of the people that you thought, they're not going to make it, end up making it, but then who are some of the people you thought were going to be great, but then they just kind of fell short? It's just like a scouting report. They say, oh, this guy's going to be great, end up tanking, or it's like, here's a guy that was drafted at the bottom, you think he's not going to have a chance, and all of a sudden he ends up in the Hall of Fame. That type. So who are some of the players that, you thought would make it, didn't, and some the opposite?
Well, I tell you right off the top of my head, nothing particular comes to mind. I guess maybe that's because I'm old and forgot half of those people already. But the one that surprised me that made it that nobody thought would ever be much of anything and never was a superstar is the Milwaukee Brewers manager is Greg Counsell. Had the weirdest stance. Nobody knew why he did anything, but he was successful. Joe McEwen was kind of that way, a Cardinal guy for a while, that nobody could figure out when, where, or how, but they got the job done. And that's what it comes down to in baseball is who can get the job done consistently, no matter what they look at or why they do certain things. Sheffield was just going to be a guy that was just always going to tear things up, coming up as a rookie with the Brewers, and it took him a while to really realize who he was and what he needed to be successful. And that's the challenge in Major League Baseball. You can draft a guy 1 and 2, and something in his head doesn't work when it comes to dealing with all the pressures of it. And within a couple of years, they're gone. I know there was a young man that the Reds drafted from this area a few years back and thought highly of, picked him number 2, and within a few years, they had to cut him loose because he just never got above A-ball, and last year he played, he hit $164. Well, that's not what they had hoped for, but it happens, and fight your loss and move on to who's the next guy that can be that guy.
Mm-hmm. That is amazing, too. And also, just a few more minutes left here. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
My biggest influence? Probably Mark Cressy. And a guy I coached with back in India, Greg Marchand. Greg was the first, he's in the Hall of Fame, coaches in Indiana now. First guy I ever coached with who just there was no way other than the right way to do things, and was always willing to help you to get better, to improve, as well as do anything for the kids. He's probably got almost all the kids that have played for him at one time or another would come back if they needed something to, Coach, how can you help me or whatever. And that's all you can ask for when you're working with young men is, give them that opportunity to be successful and be there for them in their times of triumph and tribulation. So that's a big one there. And then Mark, when I moved out here to do baseball and work with him at his camps, the opportunity to meet so many current and former major leaguers and coached a few that played over in the recent years between Chris Tillman and Hank Conger and a couple other kids from his group that we worked with. But just that chance to get to meet people and kind of show people what you're doing and learn from them and move on. It's been a pretty outstanding opportunity in my book. I just never figured I'd ever be in the position I'm in to work with some of these guys and have the opportunity to have a couple kids that have made it to the show. And it's very rewarding, whether just seeing them be successful is all I ever care about.
That is amazing, too. And, of course, so what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
The best advice I can give is never look back and say, what if? as a player, don't look back and say, if I'd have just done this, or if I'd have worked out a little harder, if I'd have practiced a little harder, if I hadn't blamed everybody but myself for my downfall. Every player on that field knows whether they've given 100% or not, or whatever their 100% is for that day. And so don't look back and wish you'd have done all the things that you knew you should have done, or even a little extra to be successful, because that's the bottom line, is what did I do? And don't be afraid to ask questions of whoever you're playing with or playing for, because in most cases, they're looking to do what they do to help you. Like I said, I get more out of seeing kids be successful that I've just had an opportunity to be around, or whether I've done some things to help them. It's always, the next level, and kids should always look at what are my opportunities to continue playing. Everybody wants to go play at the D1 schools in baseball, but that doesn't mean I'm going to play. Maybe I need to go to a JC somewhere where I can play for a couple of years and then get a chance to go to those D1 schools and show people what I'm going to do. But don't stop playing. As long as you got a chance to play, keep playing, make them rip the uniform off your back.
I love that. That's been great, Mike. Just want to say a big thank you for your time. I love talking baseball with you. I'd like to do that sometime down the road, and perhaps talk to you again before the World Series or during. And before we do that, tell everybody your upcoming projects and what's your website, and how can people contact you?
People can contact me just by emailing me to totalbaseball7 at hotmail.com. And I can give them any all information they're looking for, whether it's just they have questions about something or interested in training or whatever the case may be. And I'm always available that way. And at that point, I can also give them my phone number if they want to text, or just, I have kids that will play for me, and in the middle of a tournament or something, young kids give me a call and, Coach, I'm doing this and that, and I can pretty much what they tell me they're doing, I can help correct them, and I've done it numerous times just because, I know who they are, and I know their areas of opportunity to where they can fool themselves a little bit. So I'm glad to help anybody anytime I can and give them whatever information I can. And coaching is teaching baseball, but it's teaching life too, and all the ups and downs that go with it. Mm-hmm. Just doing the best you can to be successful on a daily basis.
And that's the most important thing, and I think you've hit the nail on the head, Mike, and just want to say it's been a great pleasure chatting with you. Thank you very much for your time, Mike. Look forward to having you again soon, and we'll be talking more baseball down the road. Looking forward to it.
Well, Mike, I appreciate the opportunity, and glad that we were able to touch base and discuss baseball. Nothing better to do on a beautiful day in the desert.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Listen online at themikewagnershow.com and on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And watch the interview on YouTube. Also, become a sponsor of the program or donate today at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of The Mike Wagner Show.